We have seen the Sony Xperia XA on the Mobile World Congress already shortly, but now the final phone is here and it's worth a second look. Especially I have the results of the battery runtime test, of the processor benchmarking for you, and you may remember this one. I loved it on first sight because on these small edges here, look at that, and with that and these curved edges here of that 2.5D glass on the front and the edges here, it's really feeling good in the palm. You can reach the opposite corner of the screen without any problem here, and that's not clear for all phones these days. With bigger screens, you can't reach even the opposite corner here. So from the haptics and the optics, I really love it. But of course, it's no flagship feeling. You have that backside here. That's not that look and feel, but it's way cheaper. Here in Germany, Europe, we have recommended retail price, including tax, $299 instead of $599. So it's way than half of the price almost. Roundabout here, even on the street prices. So this is the entry phone instead of the flagship phone, of course. So in this video, we will see the differences. And the first one is the display, not the size of the display, but the panel technology. Size is almost the same. It's 4.98 inch, 127 millimeters instead of 126. So forget about that. But unfortunately, it's not full HD. So it's 720 by 1280 pixels only. And for that price, well, let's I find it a little bit counterproductive for Sony to come back in the phone market, because it should have been, I guess, for this price, full HD, because you have a resolution here of 135 pixels per square millimeter, or 295 ppi. That's 48% below the average. Compare that to the Xperia X with Full HD, 305 pixels per square millimeter. That's 444 ppi, 17% above the average. So completely different. But on the other side, you can say, okay, I can read even these tiny texts here without any problem. We have a look at some pictures here, for example. I always compare this with the difference between DVD and Blu-ray. Of course, a Blu-ray is sharper, you have more pixels and whatever, but on the other side, I can enjoy a movie from DVD too. So it's your decision if you really need that. And the other thing is that it's not dual domain IPS, meaning it's IPS, but not that the red, green and blue subpixels are not arranged in two axes for viewing angle stability, but just in one, like on a classic LCD. So the result of that you will see here in this picture. If I'm turning this only a little to the side, you will see how the colors and the contrast is changing, especially here, I guess. That's strange. So you can say, okay, that's nothing for me. But on the other hand, you could say, okay, I'm always looking straight onto my phone. I do not need that. And especially, I want to say that even, let's say, an iPhone, a way more expensive iPhone, has the same IPS without dual domain panel. Other resolution, of course, but same problem with that viewing angle stability. So in case you say, I love that phone, it's absolutely okay, but you should know why the price difference is so big. And you have other cameras, of course. On the front, it's 8 megapixels instead of 13, but way enough, I guess, for selfies. You do not have that 23 megapixels camera, just 13 only, but should be enough. Of course, I will have a closer look onto the camera quality in the final review, coming as text only on my website, mobiwatch.net. Just click on it, give me 2 weeks, 2 weeks of so for the final review here. And you do not have 4K video, but you don't have on the Xperia X2. Sony is doing no 4K video at the moment. Here it's Full HD, and on the front too, absolutely okay. The processor, of course, is something completely different, because here it's the MediaTek Helio P10 6735. 8 cores, up to 2 gigahertz, Mali T860 MP2 as graphics module, only 2 GB of working memory instead of 3 for the Xperia X that has the Snapdragon 650 and Adreno 510. So this is different, of course, but again, half the price. So here we come on the benchmarks. I take more than 50 single values from 15 benchmarks, compute that to it altogether overall value, and in that the Xperia X is 6% below the average. That's totally okay for average users, for the target group of a device like this one. And as you see here, for example, first launch here of that app, or let's take this one. First launch takes always longer, of course. Here it's very quick, it's rapid, it's fluidly. If you scroll through the pages or go to the settings here, it's absolutely okay. Just if you want to have graphically advanced games like Asphalt 8 or whatever, and you want to have your at least 30 frames per second, then maybe other phones are better. But for mailing and Skyping and texting and whatever you will do, it's absolutely okay. Then there's something more you should know about the things you can't see. Okay, you have 4G, of course, 150 instead of 300 megabits per second. Don't worry. You have Wi-Fi AC, you have NFC, everything. Besides, you do not have that fingerprint sensor. This is just the regular, the old round on-off standby button. That's all. But for that price, well, I know there are, for example, Honor phones from Huawei that have for that price fingerprint sensor and so on. Some Chinese phones, yes, of course. But this is a Sony nevertheless, you see. So this is the difference, okay, but internal memory, that's one point I want to show you a little bit more deeply, because I find 16 gigabyte too less instead of 32 on the Xperia X. Some of you might think, oh, 16 gigabyte, it's totally enough. But be aware, you do not have these 16 gigabyte for you, because you have that operating system, you have that Sony user interface. Android alone, as you see here, it's 6.0. Android 6 needs 6 gigabytes. Yeah, that's it. So in case you grab the phone out of the box, update all pre-installed operating system, all apps and everything, then it's left net 5.4 gigabytes only. 5.4 gigabyte. On the Xperia X, it's 17.9 gigabyte. That's absolutely okay. You can live with that. It's not like on the Sony M4 Aqua, I guess, with 1.2 or 1.5 gigabyte net only. In that case, I've said, don't buy that phone with the 8 gigabyte net memory, gross memory and 1 gigabyte net, because you can even install a Asphalt 8 or something like that. So here it's okay, you can live with that, you can install your apps and then move them, of course, here to the memory card. Up to 2 gigabyte micro SD, 200 gigabyte, and a nano SIM here. So it's not that problem. It's just only the relation of price and net memory. So these $300, in my opinion, are way too much. 200 would be okay. Then I would say it's absolutely ideal here for 16 gigabyte, net 5.4, but in 300 euro range. Wow, that's a little bit strange what Sony is doing there, in my opinion, at least. And with that, let's come to the battery runtime test results, because again, it's fixed, it's built in, you cannot change by yourself. It has 2300 milliamps instead of 2620 on the Xperia X. And with that, in runtime test, the Xperia XA made it up to 486 minutes. That's exactly the current average here. So for you, if you're a regular user, you come through the day, maybe even through the second day. And if you're a heavy user, well, it depends on how much heavy you're doing. So if you're moderate heavy, then maybe you can reach the evening. But if you're really almost completely always on screen and GPS and Bluetooth and whatever, then you won't make it through the day. That's clear with that result, I guess. Compare this to the Xperia X, that's up to 617 minutes in the runtime test, and that means 26% above the average. So in case you're really a heavy user, you're a better choice will be the Xperia X. You will come through the day with that. Here it's just more for regular users, but that's the target group of the Xperia X, so I guess this one is okay. So a result for me at the end is it's nice, but it's no bargain. It's quite expensive, at least now. Of course, prices are going down. I'd say this phone for 200 euros, including tax, would be okay at the moment. 280, it's a little bit too expensive. But of course, your decision, you now know the facts. That's it for the moment. More in about 1 or 2 weeks on my website, as I told you, mobiwatch.net, as a text the complete review. Thanks for watching this video. Take care and bye.